All right, take three. I just tried to record this video out in the hills and my iPhone overheated, and then I did take two, and I forgot to equip this microphone right here, so the quality of the audio is really bad. But anyway, what I'm talking about today is the dark night of the soul and just how you can move through that when you're going through a difficult period in your life, what to do about it, um, how that's actually an opportunity for you to learn and transform on a deep level. So let me explain what a dark night of the soul is to me, which is really just difficult circumstances or confusion in any area of your life. It could be, you could have a dark night of the soul in relationships. You could have it in a career slash success. You could have it in spirituality. You could have aging could induce a dark night of the soul, illness. Um, all of these things, despite on the surface they look bad, and generally what Western psychiatry would have you do is just try and solve the symptom. Really, these issues are coming up because of your soul. Your soul needs you to learn a lesson, and really underlying the physical, whatever's going on, is a soul issue that's now emerging. And that can put you in a state of confusion, feeling lost, feeling a lot of emotional turmoil, and things of that nature. So I'm actually going to start out here. I got some inspiration for this video from this book, Dark Nights of the Soul by Thomas More. So I'm going to start out by reading the last couple paragraphs of this book because I feel like it really encapsulates a couple key takeaways. So here it goes. Nothing could be more precious than a dark night of the soul, the very darkness of which allows your lunar light to shine. It may be painful, discouraging, and challenging, but it is nevertheless an important revelation of what your life is about. In that darkness, you see things you couldn't see in the daylight. Skills and powers of the soul emerge from your frustration and ignorance. The seeds of spiritual faith, perhaps your only recourse, but certainly a valuable power, are found in your darkness. The other half of who you are comes into view, and through the dark night, you are completed. You become the wounded healer, someone who has made the descent and knows the territory. You take on a depth of color and range of feeling. Your intelligence is now more deeply rooted and not dependent only on facts and reason. Your darkness has given you character and color and capacity. Now you are free to make a real contribution. It is a gift of your dark night of the soul. So the dark night of the soul is really, in a certain sense, is a gift, and it's a transformational process. It's life showing you the patterns you need to dissolve, showing you where you need to move next. And there's going to be a period of confusion where you really don't know where to move. I was just in the midst of this. And when I was at a certain period, I just felt like I don't know what's up and down. I don't know what's left and right. I don't know what's right and wrong. I've just been going through so much, and so much has happened. And I've been evolving spiritually, that the old ways I've been operating just don't make sense. And just the subconscious ways of viewing the world just don't make sense. So it's really an opportunity to introspect, align yourself with your values and your intuition, and move forward according to your best understanding and according to your intuition. So I would say, like, what really kind of happens is difficult circumstances come up and they shock you out of your complacency, or just shock you out of maybe neurotic patterns that you're engaging in. Um, a breakup happens, and that kind of forces you to see the ways in which see the ways in which you wronged the person, the ways in which that person wronged you, just the ways, how can I move forward in relationships in the future and be a better partner? And, but at the same time, how can I also be kind of more independent and of the relationship, and, just have your own really deep purpose. I mean, I don't think that was my issue in the relationship, but I do want to bring that up because he talked about it in the book, and it's a good point. Which is that a lot of times he talks about this in a section on marriage and relationships and love. So a lot of times when people fall in love, there's kind of that infatuation factor, and maybe they're just infatuated with a couple aspects of the person, and they imagine them as being something that they're not, but they can't really see what it would be like to live with that person long term. So sometimes just out of the infatuation, people rush into marriage, and this is where problems happen because they haven't looked at whether that person is going to be good and fit into their life and be good for that spiritual development, and whether they can really both support each other. Um, it was just infatuation and desire which pushed them in a frenzy to get married or to stay in a relationship longer than they should. So it's important to really look at that. But the other perspective that's important when it comes to relationships that he brought up that I really like is that love is kind of like an initiation. It's like a spiritual initiation when it's true love. It's like it's gonna like tear both of you up, and it's like you're gonna have to give up aspects of yourself and surrender aspects of yourself and really like look and be willing to work on the relationship and just work on aspects of yourself. Like it's really gonna bring that out. Um, So you want someone who's willing to work on that with you. And, even if the relationship breaks up, that doesn't mean it wasn't meaningful and it wasn't beneficial for the both of you and brought things to light and kind of changed both of you for the better. That's what it's for. It's, learning how to love another person. It's kind of preparing you almost to learn how to love God and just love all of creation in a sense. It's kind of an initiation or a preparation into that to a certain degree. But let me get back on track and talk some more about the dark night of the soul and other areas. One other thing I want to talk about is when I was really in the midst of this, uh, I went through a breakup, and then I also went through a split with my business partner. And while those two things were happening, also in the background was I've been getting very serious about my spiritual practice, and just it's become the most important part of my life. So there, the introspective and discriminative part of my brain has been switching on. So when these things were happening, I was really going and introspecting a lot, but it kind of turned to it turned into something it should have been, where it went to the neurotic degree because I was kind of beating myself up like and I've been doing semen retention, so sexual urges, lust was coming up, desire was coming up, and I would beat myself up over that because I would think that like I shouldn't be having this, as like I should be able to transmute this or channel it into something else and not fixate on it because I'm on a spiritual path. And so I was beating myself up for that, and also just like whatever other thought patterns were coming up, and just being in the state of kind of like depression for a while over what's happened. I was beating myself up for that, and just literally every little thought that would come out throughout the day, or like, oh, like having the craving to like watch a YouTube video, or like just watching a couple of YouTube videos, like I'd beat myself up for it because I'm wasting time and I should be channeling that into something higher. But it just went to the excessive degree to where like even at a certain point I was like beating myself up for beating myself up because like I shouldn't be wasting mental energy doing that. So sometimes like these patterns just have to play themselves out to the excessive degree, and then when it gets that excessive, you're able to really see it for what it is, and you have no choice but to work through it and move past it at that point. So that's something the dark night of the soul can do, is just bring up these patterns and kind of just force you to introspect and like see things for what they really are in the psyche, and see how certain patterns of thought are holding you back. Like I feel like I've had that like self-critic and like operating out of guilt and shame and all this. Like I've had that since childhood. So now like it's all coming back up to the forefront again, and I've like tried to deal with this a few times in my life, but like this time, especially with my spiritual path ramping up, like this is what's holding me holding me back from making even more spiritual progress. So now's the time to, I've been really into spirituality and I've been ascending and I've been establishing that connection with the higher power. But now's the time to dive into the depths and work on everything that's holding me back there. Um, and everything that's stopping me from expressing my spiritual potential and just potential in all areas. And it's uncomfortable. It's the ego doesn't want to let go of that. It's part of yourself is dying, but you got to be willing. Life is a process of change and growth. You have to, or it's best to surrender to what's going on, surrender to that part of yourself, surrender to the darkness coming to the forefront, and surrender to the change that's happening, even though you don't know where it's going to lead, even though you don't know what the future is going to hold. Just surrender to life because, for example, life knows what it's doing. It can transform a caterpillar into a butterfly. It knows what it's doing there. It's a complete transformation into a different type of animal. So life, knowing that it can do that, and that another example, forest fire happening is now an opportunity for new life to emerge and for the forest to renew itself. So life knows what it's doing, and it also knows how to get you to where you need to go, even though your ego doesn't see it, and you're really confused, and there's a lot of turmoil. Having that faith and just trusting the process, trusting the higher power, trusting life to know what it's doing, that can really help you just kind of surrender and just let go of these old outdated parts of yourself that aren't serving you anymore, and just see what happens, see how you're able to step into that higher version of yourself. um so yeah, I mean, like the dark night of the soul, like it's really when everything's going good and everything's going right, it's great, and you can learn lessons and you can learn that how to be happy. But life's always dualistic. There's going to be periods where everything's going great, and then there's going to be periods where things fall apart. And but this period where things are falling apart, that's your opportunity to learn, let things go, and then things can be even better the next time. And it's an opportunity to learn a lot of lessons. And also, when you're um, kind of in tune with that higher power, it's also an opportunity. One of the main takeaways for me to learn that even though, despite these tough external circumstances and despite the inner turmoil, that doesn't mean that you need to be depressed or that you need to lose hope or lose faith. Your connection to that higher power can be a source of strength in times of the darkness, and it can really push you to be who you authentically are, to find who you truly are. So just because you're in a dark night of the soul, that doesn't mean you need to be depressed. That doesn't mean you need to be in a haze. And there might be a period where you're really just thinking things through and you're not moving, and that's okay. But you can start moving forward in this dark night just with your clearest understanding. And it's also important to, when you're really, for example, when I was getting into that headspace where I was just beating myself up and like it was just all crazy inside, and I didn't, like, I was questioning all my values, and like it, being able to detach yourself from that a little bit is good. And also just have strategies you can use, like go on a walk, go do a workout, like when you're really in that mental space, go read a book, like just take your mind out of that neurotic space for a little bit. And even if you can't get out of it, just know it's not really who you are. Those are patterns you've developed. Those are neurosis. Like, don't identify yourself with your defects of character. Identify yourselves with your strengths, with your strengths of character, and then work and really go into the shadows. Be willing to see the darkness. Don't run away from it. Don't go try to escape into entertainment or whatever. Be willing to sit with it and really see how you can work with that, integrate it into yourself. Um, but don't let it consume you. Yeah. Um, so hopefully that made some sense. I hope that helps someone out there. Um, wishing you all the best, and just know whatever you're going through, it's happening for a reason, and you're going to come out the other side better for it. So with that being said, best of luck. Show yourself some love. Go on a walk. Read a good book like this, Dark Nights of the Soul. I really enjoyed this, and it helped me kind of really. The main thing it helped me with was to reframe things and understand that this process is actually really beneficial, and it's a great opportunity for growth and transformation. Um, and just knowing that kind of helps take the edge off it and be willing to really surrender to the process and really work with it. So with that being said, I'll see you on the next one.